talked about the rejection piece. That word, the R word, has come up a number of times through this conversation. And the reality is this: conflict interrupts profit. So resolving conflict is crucial to keeping your business moving forward. Whether that's internal conflict, get a therapist. Whether that's family conflict, social conflict in your group, figure it out. Conflict interrupts profit. You need to have stability in your life. And conflict with clients interrupts profit. It absolutely does. So we'll touch on that as well, eliminating that. But as I say, there's really two types of conflict. There's your internal conflict and your external conflict. So first we'll talk a little bit about the internal piece, right? I was asked the other day, how do you stay so calm? I mean, I've been accused on the phone of sounding like I'm falling asleep. In this case, it was someone asking me after I had received a text message, and it was a challenging text message, absolutely. But I didn't really react. I'm just like, I was just processing it. You know, I was just kind of sitting there thinking. And I think that's what I looked like on the outside. Meanwhile, internally, this is actually what was happening. But on the outside, I was the duck, right? Quack, quack. Because the secret is I don't actually stay calm. Internally, I'm not calm at all. I'm not. But I do know one thing. I do know this one thing. I know this one thing to be true. A text message cannot kill me. It can't. It's not going to happen. So yes, it's upsetting me, but it's not threatening my very survival. It's not threatening my actual overall livelihood or existence on this planet or ability to carry on and move forward. So I know that's a really kind of macro way to look at things, but this is how I've started to look at rejection, conflict, kind of nod, I think about it, and I go back to that Holmes and Race stress test, and I think what's happening in this person's life, what's happening that's triggering them to communicate in the way they're communicating with me, all caps, crazy town. Whatever it is, it's probably pretty rough, right? And I think that's that thing they call empathy. I'm working on that one. Not really, I'm pretty empathetic. I like to think that I can put myself in other people's shoes to some extent. And you know, I realize there's something going on over here, and it's probably a miscommunication on my part. I've probably failed to communicate something effectively. Maybe it was trying to be a little too efficient and I wasn't effective enough. And so I realized that, you know, communication is probably the root of the problem, and that people are often mistaken, so whatever they're interpreting on their end, it's probably a mistake. And I've got the resources to fix this, and also I'm pretty confident that I'm not stupid. I might have made a mistake, but I can fix this. I can fix this. I might have made a stupid mistake, but I'm probably smart enough that I can fix it. And if I can't fix it, I probably know who can. And one of the beauties in the mortgage space, the majority of mistakes we make are financial. They're numerical. They're dollars and cents. And you can fix the mistake by writing a check. And sometimes it really sucks to write that check. I mean, most times. But that's often the simplest, fastest fix to a mistake. But again, you can't internalize this, and you can't feel like these things are an attack on you, and you can't feel like the rejection, like when Rob talks about 19 out of 20 realtors saying, go away, and hanging up on them. You can't internalize that. Like, they don't even know you. They know nothing about you. You know nothing about them. Maybe you caught them at a bad time. Call them back again tomorrow. And I would relentlessly call them back over and over and over. And look, we do keep score of rejection. Rob keeps score. I mean, 13 years later, 19 out of 20. Like, he hasn't forgotten.
Haven't forgotten. True.
We keep track of the number of views. And if that number is not high enough, if I got 1,300 views last time, but I only got 200 views this time, I feel sad and lame, and I must suck. People are not watching my stuff. They don't care anymore. The number of Geez, it took 289 slides to get a typo, I think, but I think that's my first one. The number of likes. The number of likes. We keep score, right? How many likes am I getting on this post? What's the number of comments I'm getting? What's the number of attendees? Write your expectations down, review it often, and be aware. Mission creep is a real thing. It's real easy to be like, you know what, yeah, we should add this, and we should add this, and we should do this, and it's very easy to do that. It's very easy to do that. And it takes me back to, I always remember the line my therapist threw at me one time, Dustin, I want you to just pause and feel your feelings. And I was like, no, I don't want to feel those feelings. I think I'm just going to let that stuff go. And when it comes to rejection, when it comes to dealing with rejection, when it comes to throwing a party and not enough people showing up, when it comes to making the calls and realtors, you know, yelling at you, cursing at you, and hanging up on you, let it go. Don't feel the feelings around that. They're not that important. Let it go. Let it go. Move on, move forward, and focus on what matters, right? What matters. And that's what I did a couple days ago. That's why I stopped looking, and I wasn't really too sure where we were at, because I don't need to know. What I need to do is I need to deliver some quality content to the 207 people that had signed up at that point. So that's the focus. The focus is on delivering the goods. That's what actually mattered, and everything else, I just let go of. You know, I just let go of it. It's fine. You know what? Averaged out last year, this year, averages out. It's all good. And learning to let go of things fast and just accepting them for the way they are, that's been probably one of the best things I've been able to adapt. And that's not an easy thing to do, but you can get there. Now there's the external conflict piece. There's the internal stuff that we worry about. There's the external piece. Dealing with our own, often very irrational expectations, right? That's one thing. That's one thing. That's our internal conflict. We think things are going to go a certain way. They go a different way. The external side is more dealing with the expectations of others. And that can be very challenging. In this industry in particular, you can wind up dealing with some incredibly stressed out, incredibly challenging individuals. You're receiving the all caps emails. You're receiving the ranting, yelling voicemails. They're getting you on the phone and calling you names, and they're cursing, and they're freaking out, and they're blaming you, and they're laying crazy things at your feet. The last year, I mean, some of the most ridiculous things I've heard people say. I mean, how does one human say to another, you're the reason we can't have a baby? Whoa. 3 different mortgage brokers actually wound up. It's like a common line, apparently. 3 different mortgage brokers had their clients say to them that the mortgage broker was the reason. Like, that is just cruel and unusual. Like, that's harsh. Even the camera person's nodding behind here. Like, it was really harsh. Like, that's a hard thing to say to somebody. And all I really got for you in this is, what was your dollars per hour again? Like, is it enough to deal with this crap? You know, now, again, if you think about it, you really only deal with that kind of extreme level crap for a very small period of time. Like, out of the 3,400 hours I put in last year, how many of those hours did I deal with extreme level, high tension nonsense? I'd actually say several hundred, but it wasn't 2,000. I don't think it was 1,000. There was definitely several hundred hours that were extreme level, but then you look at your dollars per hour at 29 bucks an hour, maybe not doing this. 57 bucks an hour, I don't know if it's really worth it, man. 89 bucks an hour, you know, you want to call me names for like 15 minutes? I'm making almost 25 bucks while you're calling me names. Like, I guess I can deal with this, right? And again, it's an oversimplification, but I think it's important to keep in mind, going back through some of the things we've gone through today, your clients are under extreme stress. They're not telling you all the things that are going on in their life. And when they lose their minds on you, it's not actually you. It's a bunch of other things happening in their life, and you just happen to be the lightning rod. You're the catalyst. You're the spark setting off the explosion. You're standing in the wrong place at the wrong time. And in that moment, I encourage you to remember either your dollars per hour, if that helps you, but more importantly, I encourage you to remember people don't stay angry forever. And the more egregious they're being, the crueler the things are that they're saying, the more they're cursing, the more they're yelling, the sadder they're going to feel about how they behave, the more embarrassed they're going to be relatively soon after. And if you don't argue with them and you don't give them fuel, if you just say, some basic words like, you're right, I'm wrong, I'm sorry, it actually calms down very, very quickly. But dealing with the expectations of others is very, very challenging. And one of the things you need to watch out for is that internal piece of principle. Dustin, you don't understand. It's the principle of the thing. Your clients can have principles, and you can address their principles. But for you, again, especially in your early years, set aside your principles. Don't die on that vine, right? Like, come to the thing with, like, your palms up. It's okay. I'm here to help you. Like, don't stand on ceremony. When it comes to principles, principles don't pay the bills, right? I remember early on in a couple different brokers' careers, them saying things to me like, I'm not putting money into my client's file. I'm not putting money into their deal to help it get done. That's on them. Just on principle alone, I refuse to do that. And in the one instance, there was a pending rule change coming up, and if this person didn't buy this property, they were not likely going to be able to buy any property because it was a significant rule change. And it was down to $500 from the broker, $500 from the realtor to bridge a $1,000 gap that the buyers and sellers were just stuck on like a $600,000 property. But the buyers and sellers, again, let them be irrational. Let them be crazy town. They want to be $1,000 apart and carve a hard line in the sand. Let them bridge the gap for them. The realtor was willing to put the $500 in, the broker wasn't. It's a $500,000 mortgage. It's a $5,000 commission. So you're gonna kiss $4,500 away in your first year in the business when you got bills to pay because you don't want to, because your principles say you're not going to put money into a client's file. That's asinine. That's bad advice. That's bad decision making. Principles don't pay the bills. Be principled. I'm not saying be shady, nothing like that. That's not what I'm saying. Don't misunderstand me, please. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying when it comes to some fundamental basic things, like bridging a $1,000 gap for a buyer and a seller to get a deal done, to get something across the finish line, that just makes sense. That's where principles come into problems. Lesson number one, never pursue being right, right? When that client is coming back at you with heat, don't pursue being right. When it comes to being right is a you thing, right? That's a you thing. Do you need to be right? I don't know. It's like an awful hobby, trying to always be right. Nobody wants you to be right except you. As I say, that's all about you. You have a choice. You can be right or you can be referred. Personally, I'll take the referral every single time. I don't care if there's people out there talking about how wrong I was and how I blew up the argument or whatever, like, they put one over on me, they won the argument, etc. Cool. I funded your $1 million mortgage. It's all good. I paid my bills for the month. We're good. Like, there's a roof over my head, there's my belly, food in my belly, everything is good. I want to be referred, not right. Don't argue with clients. Don't argue with clients. Clients care about them things, right? Clients care about them things. They don't care about you things. They're focused on themselves. And when you have a problem, when the client has a problem, you need to fix it fast. Starting with, you're right, I've made a mistake, I'm sorry, I'm going to fix it. That's where you've got to be, right? Be differential. Be deferential. Deferential, agreeable, and be referred. That's what winds up happening. Going on a whole rant about how they were wrong or, whatever, forget it. It's just ridiculousness. Be agreeable and be referred. That's the bottom line. You want to be referred. You want future business. That's what you're after. And the daily practice is really start by letting go of the small stuff. And, of course, realizing that it's all small stuff. It really is. Is this text message going to kill me? Is writing a check for $200 for title insurance, which I told the client about, going to kill me? No, it's really not. It's not. And remaining calm through the whole thing, right? That might be the most important thing I say all day. Like, being calm is contagious. It really is. The calmer you are, the calmer your clients will become. Don't rise to their level of craziness. Don't do it. Let go of the opportunity to complain, to call them out, to be right. Just let go of it. Even if you have incontrovertible evidence that they're wrong and you're right, what does winning the argument actually do? Right? It probably costs you a whole bunch of time, probably costs you a commission, and go back to what's your dollars per hour. Do the math. Do you want to be right or do you want to be referred? And time is energy. And energy, just like time, it's finite, right? It's absolutely a finite thing. So you want to invest your time, you want to invest your energy, you want to invest your capital wisely, right? When I say you can do it, take it like a champ, I'm talking about the whole Muhammad Ali or Rocky situation where, look, you take the hits. They're throwing lefts and rights and haymakers at you. You just take the hits. Don't fight back. There's no percentage in this. There just isn't. And the number one rule, again, would be not to pretend rejection is painless. It's not. Rejection hurts. It sucks. Losing arguments, being told you're wrong, being told you're ruining someone's life, in ridiculously extreme ways. It isn't painless. It isn't. So you can't pretend it doesn't exist like a ghost. It's real. It's there. You kind of got to feel your feelings a little bit in that one. But you have to, beyond accepting the fact that it's painful, you just have to get past it. Like, this too shall pass, and learn how to process that pain in whatever way it is that you're going to process it. Because the reality is, business is always personal. It's 100% emotional. And getting into the whole why something happened and arguing with someone about it, it's a trap. It's a trap. The faster you can let these things go and move on, the better, right? So pick one, the argument or the client, because you're only going to win one. You can't win both. That's the reality of this situation. And remember, these problems are opportunities. Again, thinking of my happy birthday emails, because it was an exchange. Just recently, one of the clients I wished a happy birthday, they were one of the clients in my first year in the business that I made a huge mistake with on a switch, got the timing wrong, triggered a penalty, the lender's not letting go of the penalty, we funded the file, and the penalty was $3,773, and I wrote that check for $3,773, and it felt like, and probably was, all the money I had in the bank at that time, and I drove that check to their doorstep, and I handed them that check, and it bounced, and it didn't bounce. I handed them that check, I paid the $3,773 to them, and again, we're talking 13, 14 years later, and I'm still having a pleasant little email exchange with them because I took ownership of the mistake, and I embraced the opportunity for huge marketing potential. It's not going to work every time, but it worked this time. Those people told everybody they knew that I made a mistake, but they told everybody they knew I made it right. So it wasn't about being the best broker. It was about being the one who took responsibility when they made a mistake. And that got me tons of referrals, and it got me an extra level of love from the referral partner who sent those clients to me in the first place, because I could have made that referral partner look so bad in that moment if I had not taken the responsibility I took. Time is your friend. Now, this is a little bit of a double-edged sword here. Your responses to those all-caps emails, all-cap text messages, think of them a little bit like a fine wine, all right? They're going to get a little better with age. The instant response is probably not the best response. You probably want to breathe. You probably want to calm down a little bit. And you probably don't want to respond to an all-caps text or email in writing. You probably need to respond with a phone call. You need to get that person on the phone, because that's going to be the best way of communicating and figuring it out. And you want to be as agreeable as you can. You want to mix maximum agreement into your response, but I think your response, when it's an angry written message sent to you, Your response should be verbal, and you should be agreeable. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm fixing it. Whether they're right or wrong or not doesn't matter. Whether you should be sorry or shouldn't be sorry doesn't matter. But you do know you need to be the one that fixes it. Ain't nobody else going to fix it. It's really only you that can fix it. And stick to the high road. Again, clients are under immense pressure. Your pressure doesn't matter. All right? You've got a consistent roof over your head tonight. These people are putting everything into a moving van tomorrow, and they don't know if they've got a new home to go to now because everything's blowing up. So the pressure they're feeling is 10x, 100x the pressure you're feeling, because at least your bed is in your bedroom, and that's not changing tomorrow or the next day. And again, how do you handle an upset client? You remain calm, you be agreeable, right? And you fix the problem. You fix the problem fast, and you ask for help. The faster the better, and the more people you ask, the better, although you do need to be careful about just who you ask on certain situations. And I'm not going to go too deep into this, but there will be situations where you will have a client lose their job or quit their job 3 days before funding and decide to tell you about this. Did they tell you in writing? Did they tell you verbally? You're going to need to go to your managing broker, and you're going to have a conversation with your managing broker, and that is the first person you should go to start this conversation and figure out what you're actually doing here. Because you are now in a very difficult position where, strictly speaking, you are bound to disclose this information to the lender. The lender actually doesn't even want to hear this information. They don't want to know this information. But what are we going to do? And in some instances, the lender has actually funded the file anyway. The lender has been notified, and the lender has funded it anyway because the person was a professional with several years of experience. They had an impeccable credit score, significant savings. They're highly employable. They're in a field with lots of demand. It's going to be okay. But those are the moments where you need to have the right person on speed dial, the right person that you can ask. Those are very dicey moments. And again, when I talk about taking all this rejection and abuse and all the rest of it, it's all just coming at you like you've made mistakes. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? And people are hanging up on you, and realtors don't want to talk to you, and this business is killing me. Is it? Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe you need to learn to set some boundaries, and there's some people in your life you need to say no to as well, but not yet. You don't have enough clients to reject anybody just yet. We're working on that. We're getting to that point.